My cheating ex texted, "We just need you at our wedding for closure." 3 years after I caught her with my best friend, I gave them something better and watched their lives implode. Sup Reddit, I'm not one for posting my business online. But what happened 2 weeks ago has half of my friend group telling me that this is Reddit gold. So here we are. My ex-girlfriend and my best friend hooked up behind my back for 5 months, then invited me to their wedding 3 years later for closure. They got closure, just not the kind they wanted. I, 32 male, run distribution operations for a medical supply company. Hospitals, clinics, urgent cares. If they need supplies, I make sure the trucks show up on time. It's a good job. Pays $78,000 plus bonuses. Lets me afford a house in Lakewood and a truck that actually starts in winter. Almost 4 years ago, I was pulling $52,000 and living with my girlfriend Kelsey in a decent apartment off Colfax. We'd been together 2 years. Met at one of our mutual friends' party. She did loans at a bank downtown and complained about her boss every single night, but never actually looked for a new job. I had an $8,000 engagement ring bookmarked. I knew her ring size because I took one of hers to get it cleaned. Real smooth. My boy Blake worked under me at the distribution center. I was his direct supervisor. We'd been tight since freshman year of high school. 17 years. He was at my dad's funeral. I helped him move 4 times. Tuesday, March 14th, 2022. We finished a major backlog 2 days early. Client pulled their rush order, which freed up my afternoon. I figured I'd surprise Kelsey with takeout from that faux place she liked. She wasn't home. Told me that morning she'd be working late. I texted her. No response. Called. Voicemail. Blake lived 15 minutes away. Ground floor apartment with massive windows that faced the parking lot. Maybe we could grab food, watch the Nuggets game. I pulled into his complex at 4:17 p.m. Kelsey's silver Accord was in Blake's spot. The one with the scratched bumper. My brain did that thing where it tries to rationalize. She's dropping something off. She needed to borrow something. There's an explanation. Then I looked through his window. I'm not describing what I saw. Use your imagination. What I will say is, this wasn't some drunk mistake at a party. This was comfortable. Routine. They'd done this before. Many times before. I stood there for maybe 8 seconds. Part of me wanted to kick the door in. The other part felt weirdly calm, like everything suddenly made sense. All the late nights, the girls' weekends. The way she'd started doing her hair was different. I turned around, got in my truck, drove home. I don't remember the drive. Next thing I knew, I was back at our apartment with my laptop open, searching available rentals in Lakewood. I called the bank, moved money from our joint account to my personal checking, left her exactly half, took screenshots of the balances for records. Then I removed my name from the joint account. 3 phone calls done by 6 p.m. Started a spreadsheet. Everything I owned versus everything she owned. Furniture I'd bought before we moved in together. Electronics. Kitchen stuff. My dad's tools in the garage. Took maybe 20 minutes to inventory. Realized most of the important stuff was already mine. Texted my buddy Carter. Asked if I could store boxes at his place for a week. He said yes, without asking questions. Kelsey came home at 7:43 p.m., smiling. Started telling me about her exhausting day finalizing loan applications. I just looked at her. The smile died. Alex, what's wrong? How long? How long have you been sleeping with Blake? She started crying immediately. It just happened. He was going through something, and how? Long. 5 months. 5 months of looking me in the face while I browsed engagement rings. Get out. Alex, please. 10 minutes. Pack a bag. Everything else I'll drop at your sister's tomorrow. Keys on the counter when you leave. She tried the tears. Then the begging. Then the, we can work through this routine. I stood there with my arms crossed and watched the microwave clock count down. She was still talking, so I picked up her purse and handed it to her. Time's up. She looked at me like I'd crack, like I'd soften up and let her explain. I opened the door. She left crying. I locked it behind her and called a locksmith. New deadbolt and door handle installed by 10 p.m. $147. Best money I ever spent. Spent the next 3 hours boxing her stuff. Clothes, shoes, makeup, all her bathroom junk. Filled 8 boxes. Stacked them by the door. Took photos of everything for documentation. If she claimed I kept her stuff or damaged anything, I had proof. Found the engagement ring bookmark still open on my laptop. Closed the tab. Deleted my browser history. Emptied the trash. Next morning, I got to work at 7:30. Blake's shift started at 8. I was waiting in my office when he walked in. Saw me through the glass. His face went white. He tried to turn around, walk back out. Too late. I called him in, closed the door, locked it. Sit. He stood there, hands shaking. Alex, I need to explain. Sit down. He sat. Started doing that thing where he rubbed his palms on his jeans. Could tell he'd been practicing this conversation in his head all night. Look, man, I know you're upset, but if we just talk this through, I slid a folder across the desk. Open it. He opened it. Read the first page. HR termination notice. His hands stopped moving. I reported a conduct violation to HR last night. Conflict of interest between supervisor and subordinate, creating a hostile work environment. You're done. Effective immediately. Paperwork hits your email at 9 a.m. Alex, come on. I documented the situation to HR and legal. They agreed this creates an untenable working relationship. Clean. Documented. Approved by legal this morning at 7. His face shifted. The fake concern dropped for just a second. You can't do this. Already done. This is about her, not some policy. You're right. I reported you because you spent 5 months sleeping with my girlfriend while sitting in my office every morning pretending to be my friend. But see, HR doesn't care about that. They care about maintaining professional workplace standards. And lucky for me, we actually have a legitimate issue. Blake leaned forward, started with the voice, that soft, reasonable tone he used when he wanted something. 17 years, man. 17 years of friendship. That has to count for something. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I really am. Let me make this right. I just stared at him. I never wanted to hurt you. It just happened. You know how these things go. We were both confused and... Stop. Alex, you're not sorry. You're sorry you got caught. There's a difference. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? I stood up, walked around the desk, stood over him. You looked me in the eye every single day for 5 months. Asked about my weekend, laughed at my jokes, borrowed money from me, all while you were sleeping with Kelsey in your apartment with those big windows. His face went pale. You saw everything. Yesterday, 4:17 p.m. That comfortable routine you two had going? Not the first time, was it? Blake's mouth opened, closed, opened again. If you just let me explain the whole situation, 30 minutes to clear your locker, security's been notified, you're really going to throw away 17 years over this? You already did that. I'm just making it official. Blake stood up, got close, tried the brotherhood angle, put his hand on my shoulder. We can fix this. Take a few days, cool off, then we sit down like men and work it out. Kelsey doesn't have to be part of our friendship. We can get past this. I looked at his hand on my shoulder, looked back at his face. Get out. I'm trying to apologize here. No. You're trying to keep your job. You're trying to save face. You're trying to make this go away so you don't have to deal with consequences. That's not an apology. That's damage control. Blake's expression changed. The fake remorse disappeared. So that's it? You're just done? After everything? After everything you did? Yeah, I'm done. This is crazy. You're being crazy. People make mistakes. Mistakes happen once. What you did took planning, coordination, 5 months of lying to my face. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. Fine. Blake's voice went hard. Fire me. I'll get another job. But you're going to regret this when you realize you threw away a real friendship over some girl. I opened the door. 28 minutes. Clock's running. He stood there, waiting for me to crack, to change my mind, to be the same guy who gave him second chances in high school, third chances in college. I pointed to the hallway. Blake's jaw clenched. He walked to the door, turned back. One last attempt. I really am sorry, man. I hope someday you can forgive me. Even his voice was wrong, rehearsed, like he'd practiced it in the mirror. 18 minutes. He left. I locked the door behind him, watched through the window as he walked past the other guys in the warehouse. They all knew. You can always tell when someone's being walked out. Blake stopped at his locker, started pulling out his stuff, kept looking back at my office window. Security showed up at 8:24 a.m. 2 guards. Standard procedure for terminations. They walked him to the exit. Blake kept stopping, trying to explain, trying to get them to let him come back and talk to me. They didn't. I watched his truck pull out of the lot, watched him sit there in the parking lot for another 10 minutes, watched him finally drive away. My phone buzzed. Text from his number. Please, I need this job. I'll transfer departments. I'll do anything. Just don't do this. I deleted the message. Went back to work. Changed my number that afternoon. Blocked both of them on everything. By Friday, I'd signed a lease on a 1-bedroom in Lakewood. Different neighborhood, different gym, different grocery store, different everything. People called me cold. Said I should have at least heard them out. But here's what I learned that day. When something's contaminated, you don't try to save it. You cut it out and move on. Next 6 months were straightforward. Treat my life like a distribution operation that failed quality control. Throw out the contaminated product. Build new systems. Run tighter protocols. Moved to Lakewood. Joined a flag football league through work. Made friends who knew nothing about my past. Zero connection to Kelsey or Blake. Clean slate. The hard part wasn't missing Kelsey. The hard part was Blake. 17 years of history just gone. Every time something funny happened, my first instinct was still to text him. Every time I drove past our old spots, I'd get that hollow feeling. But I handled it. Made new friends. Started showing up to things. Got decent at deflecting questions about my past. Almost 4 years later, I'd rebuilt completely. Got promoted twice. Made senior distribution manager at $78,000. Bought a house in Lakewood. 2-car garage. Decent yard. Fixed it up myself. Built a deck that actually came out level. Planted tomatoes that didn't die. My life worked exactly how I wanted it to. Then Kelsey texted me. Almost 4 years of silence. Until 8 weeks ago. She texted me from an unknown number. The text was massive. One of those novels that makes your phone say, "Read more" at the bottom. Summary. Kelsey and Blake were getting married in 6 weeks. And they wanted me there. Not just invited. Specifically wanted me there. Their couples therapist said it would help everyone get closure. Kelsey's family thought it would be good for me to see them happy. Blake's mom asked about me. They wanted to heal old wounds so everyone could move forward like adults. The message included details about the venue, about how they'd reserved me a +1, about how the seating chart had a spot saved for me at a table with mutual friends. Like I'd just show up and play along. She ended it with how much my forgiveness would mean, how they wanted to start their marriage without this cloud hanging over them, how seeing me there would prove to everyone that people can move past old hurts. I read it maybe 20 times trying to understand what reality these people lived in. They betrayed me, blew up my life for their own happiness. And now they wanted me to show up at their wedding and smile for photos. I kept it simple. Pass. Should have been done. It wasn't. Next day, another essay. About how they've grown as people. How they know what they did was wrong, but they've built something beautiful. How my forgiveness matters to them. How they want me to celebrate their love. Their love. The love that started with her sneaking around behind my back for 5 months while I shopped for engagement rings. This message had a different tone. More desperate. Said Blake really needed this. That he talks about our friendship all the time. That losing me was one of his biggest regrets. That having me there would mean he could finally stop feeling guilty about what happened. So Blake's guilt was my problem now. Perfect. I left it on red. 2 days later, my buddy Mike called. Kelsey reached out. Asked if I could talk to you about the wedding. She thinks you're holding on to anger. What did you tell her? Told her to leave you alone. But man, it's been almost 4 years. Maybe going would help you move on. I am moved on. That's why I'm not going. Then what's the harm? The harm is them trying to rewrite history. Making it seem like what they did wasn't that bad. Because look, even Alex showed up. Mike went quiet. Never thought of it like that. I didn't give him an answer. Said I'd think about it and hung up. But here's what I was actually thinking. I let go of anger almost 4 years ago when I walked away from that window and rebuilt my life without them. This isn't about revenge. This is about consequences. Next few weeks, information started coming my way. Mutual friends talking. People assuming I already knew. What I learned changed everything. Their relationship had been a disaster. Broken up twice. 8 months the first time, 3 months the second. Both times because Kelsey wasn't sure they were meant to be together. They only got engaged 4 months ago after some couples retreat, where Blake panic proposed to prove commitment. My buddy Ryan said they fight about me constantly. Kelsey feels guilty. Blake feels like he's living in my shadow. Every argument circles back to the betrayal. They almost canceled the engagement twice. Once when Kelsey had a breakdown at a dinner party because someone asked how they met. And again 3 weeks before the invitation, when Blake's mom made a comment about settling down that Kelsey took as a dig. The wedding invitation was their Hail Mary. If I showed up and gave my blessing, it would prove their relationship wasn't built on something rotten. They want you there because seeing you happy for them would prove they made the right choice, Ryan told me. Your absence confirms they blew up something good for something that doesn't work. Then I found out Kelsey had been saying, if I don't show up, it proves I'm still hung up on her. That my absence is evidence I haven't moved on. Perfect manipulation. Show up and validate their choices, or don't show up, and she tells everyone I'm still in love with her. That's when I realized this was never about closure. This was about control. She wanted to control the narrative, needed my participation to make it stick. So I made a plan. My buddy Carter became a process server, delivers legal documents for a living. He owes me from when I helped him move last year. I called him. I need you to serve someone at their wedding. Carter laughed. You're messing with me. Dead serious. What's your rate? Man, that's cold. Who are we talking about? Remember Blake? Guy I told you about who slept with my ex while we were still together? The coworker. Yeah, you got him fired. He still owes me $2,300. Loan from almost 4 years back when his car died. Never paid me back after I found out. Ghosted me on every payment request. I've got documentation. Carter went quiet for a second. You want me to serve him at his wedding? To your ex. During the reception, after dinner, before the first dance. That's nuclear, dude. I'm in. What's the address? We worked out details. Blake still owed me $2,300. Loan from almost 4 years back when his car died. Never paid me back. I had the text messages. The Venmo request he ignored. Everything documented. I pulled up my text with Blake from June 2020. Found the conversation where he asked for the loan. Screenshots of my Venmo transfer. His promise to pay me back in 2 months. My follow-up messages 3 months later. 4 months later. 6 months later. All ignored after I caught him with Qley. He figured cutting contact meant the debt disappeared. Wrong. Small claims court filing was easy. $42 and some paperwork. Went to the courthouse during my lunch break. Filled out the forms. Listed the debt. Listed the attempts to collect. Listed the defendant's refusal to respond. Filed it with the clerk. Got my court date. March 15th, 2026. The process server would deliver it at the wedding. Court summons for the debt plus a demand letter. All legitimate. All legal. Maximum embarrassment. I attached a detailed timeline to the demand letter. Names, dates, locations of their affair. How the loan was given during our friendship. How Blake stopped responding after I found out. Documented as the reason all contact ceased and why repeated repayment requests were ignored. Everything tied together showing the debt became uncollectible due to defendant's actions. Nothing defamatory, just facts that would be read into court record if Blake didn't settle. Wedding was at Lakeside Gardens. Outdoor ceremony, indoor reception. I got the full timeline from Mike. He was invited and had no idea what I was planning. Carter would deliver during the reception. Right after dinner, before the first dance. Maximum guests. Maximum impact. Wednesday before the wedding, Kelsey's bridesmaid Hannah texted me. Wanted to know if I was okay. If there was anything that could help me attend. I wrote back something vague about still thinking it over. Then Hannah started yapping and told me everything. Kelsey is a mess. Really wants everything perfect. Keeps stressing about whether people will judge them. Perfect. I spent that week living normally. Work. Gym. Plans with friends. Made reservations for Saturday afternoon at a steakhouse across town. The kind with the $44 ribeyes. Invited Ryan and 2 other guys from my flag football league. Told them I wanted to celebrate getting my promotion paperwork finalized. They didn't question it. Just said yes. Morning of the wedding, I woke up at 8 a.m. Ceremony was at 3 p.m. I had time. At 11:32 a.m., I was on my back porch smoking a cigar. One of the pricey ones I brought back from a trip last year. Carter had his instructions, timing down to the minute. Blake and Kelsey were getting married across town. I was staying home, phone off. Just me and the cigar waiting for the show to start. They'd sent me a wedding invitation. Actually expected me to show up and celebrate them after Blake spent 5 months sleeping with my girlfriend behind my back. 17 years of friendship torched because he couldn't keep it in his pants. Then they ghost me for almost 4 years and suddenly want closure. Yeah, they'd get closure. Blake owed me $2,300 from almost 4 years ago. Never paid it back. Had it in writing. Text messages where he confirmed the amount and promised to pay me back in installments. Even sent me a payment of $50 a year. After the loan with first payment, more coming, in the memo. After I found out about the affair, he blocked my number and disappeared. Court system doesn't care about blocked numbers, though. Small claims court. Legal process server. Public humiliation at their reception. All completely legal. I leaned back. Flicked ash. Waited. At 6:47 p.m., my phone buzzed. Carter. Approaching venue now. I smiled. 10 minutes later, walking in. 7:16 p.m. Papers delivered. Chaos initiated. Getting out now. I laughed. Actual laugh. Out loud. Alone on my porch. Carter called 5 minutes later. Man, that was something else. Tell me. He described it. How he walked in wearing his best suit. How everyone thought he was a late guest. How he went straight to the head table where Kelsey and Blake sat with their wedding party. How he said, loud enough for nearby tables to hear, that he had important legal documents requiring immediate attention. Blake thought it was a prank. Tried to laugh it off. Carter handed him the envelope. "You've been served. Have a nice evening." The room went silent. Everyone staring. Carter walked out while Blake opened the papers. Small Claims Court Summons, case number AW2025SC004789. Court date, March 15th, 2026. Blake being sued by Alex for outstanding debt of $2,300 plus interest and court fees totaling $3,472. Attached, my demand letter, 5 pages. Documented timeline of our friendship, dates of the loan, copies of texts where Blake promised repayment, and in the final paragraph, just to really twist the knife, a detailed breakdown of when Blake started sleeping with Kelsey, how I found out, how Blake disappeared instead of facing me. At the bottom, payment due immediately or see you in court. Consider this my wedding gift. Enjoy your marriage built on lies. Carter said Kelsey grabbed the papers, started reading, went pale, then read, then started crying. Blake tried to shove them back in the envelope. Too late. Guests at nearby tables were already asking questions. Someone's aunt demanded to know what was happening. Blake's mom stood up. Kelsey's dad looked confused. The best man tried to calm everyone down. Didn't work. Kelsey was full-on sobbing. Not happy wedding tears. Panic tears. Humiliation tears. Blake started yelling. At Kelsey. At his groomsmen. At guests who asked questions. The band stopped playing. Waiters backed away from the head table. Carter said he watched from the parking lot for a minute before leaving. Saw Blake storm toward the exit. Saw Kelsey chase after him. Saw confused guests pulling out phones. Worth every penny, I told him. Pleasure doing business, Carter replied. I hung up. Finished my cigar. Went inside and made dinner. Around 8:30 p.m. I heard a car pull up outside. Loud. Aggressive parking job. Looked out my front window. Blake's BMW. Still had the just married sign taped to the back window and streamers attached to the bumper. Wedding decorations trailing as they both jumped out. I waited by my door. Security cameras recording. Screen door latched. They pounded. Hard enough to make the frame shake. I opened up 6 inches. Stood there behind the screen. Blake still wore his tux. Bow tie undone. Jacket unbuttoned. Face purple with rage. Kelsey's wedding dress had dirt on the hem. Mascara everywhere. Hair falling out of its fancy style. They looked ridiculous. What the heck was that? Blake shouted. I just smiled. Didn't say anything. You ruined everything, Kelsey screamed. Silence. Blake stepped closer. You're pathetic. Still hung up on this after almost 4 years. You drove across town on your wedding night to pound on my door, I said calmly. Who's pathetic? We invited you. We wanted to move forward. By not paying me back? By ignoring me for almost 4 years? That's moving forward? Kelsey pushed forward. Wedding dress dragging on my concrete. Alex, please, we can work this out. Just drop the case. We'll pay you back. Should have thought of that before ignoring me. Blake's hands clenched into fists. You're really going through with this? Taking us to court over some money from almost 4 years ago? Plus interest. Plus court fees. It's in the paperwork. This is insane. What's insane is cheating with your friend's girlfriend for 5 months and then acting like you're the victim when there are consequences. Kelsey's face crumpled. I made a mistake. We both did. But this? Ruining our wedding? This is cruel. I laughed. Couldn't help it. You two spent 5 months sneaking around behind my back. You got engaged months after I found out. Sent me a wedding invitation like that would fix everything. And I'm cruel? My neighbor came out across the street. Phone up. Recording. My other neighbor stepped onto her porch. The couple from 2 doors down standing in their yard, watching. Blake noticed the audience. Started looking around. Reality hitting him that he was standing in my driveway in a tuxedo on his wedding night begging. You want the case dropped? I asked. Pay me. Right now. Full amount. Cash or certified check. Otherwise, see you March 15th. We don't have that kind of money right now, Kelsey cried. Then I guess you should have budgeted better. How much did that wedding cost? 50 grand? 60? But you can't pay back $3,472? Blake's jaw clenched. You're doing this to hurt us. I'm doing this because you owe me money. The hurt is just a bonus. Kelsey grabbed Blake's arm. Let's go. This isn't working. Blake wasn't done. Pointed at me through the screen. You know what? Take her back. You clearly still want her. This whole thing is because you can't move on. Kelsey's head whipped toward him. What did you just say? I'm done competing with a ghost. You want Alex? Go back to Alex. I'm sick of this. They started screaming at each other. Right there in my driveway. In wedding clothes. While my whole block recorded. You're the one who won't let go, Kelsey shouted. I let go. You're the one who spent our entire reception crying about him. Because you couldn't handle one legal paper. You fell apart. Because your ex sued me at my wedding. I just stood there, arms crossed, watching the show. My neighbor called out from across the street. You two need to leave. Now. Blake spun toward him. Stay out of this. It's my business when you're disturbing my street. Leave or I'm calling the police. That's when I pulled out my phone, held it up so they could see. Already calling them. Blake froze. You wouldn't. I pulled up the non-emergency line. Hit dial. Let them hear the automated menu. You've reached the non-emergency police line. Press 1 for... I pressed 1. Hi, yeah. I need officers for a trespassing situation. 2 people on my property. Been here about 25 minutes. Refusing to leave. No violence, just won't go when asked. Blake's face went from angry to panicked. Started backing toward his car. We're leaving, Kelsey hissed. I kept talking. They're in my driveway right now. Male in a tuxedo, female in a wedding dress, making a scene. Whole neighborhood's watching. We're going, Blake shouted. The dispatcher sounded almost amused. Did you say wedding dress? Yeah, long story. But they need to leave and they won't. Officers will be there in about 10 minutes. Perfect. Thanks. I hung up. Looked at Blake and Kelsey, still standing there like idiots. You've got maybe 10 minutes. Your call. Kelsey grabbed Blake's arm harder. Let's go. Now. Blake pulled away from her. Stepped closer to my door. You're really doing this? Calling the cops on us? On our wedding night? You're really staying? Waiting to get arrested in wedding clothes? That'll look great in the photos. His face twisted. Couldn't decide between rage and fear. Kept looking at his car. At me. At the neighbors who were all recording. At Kelsey, who was literally tugging on his jacket trying to drag him away. Blake, we need to go. Her voice hitting that high-pitched panic tone. 8 minutes passed. Blake still hadn't moved. Stubborn. Stupid. Probably both. Then a patrol car rolled up. Blake's eyes went wide. This is insane. Had plenty of time to leave. 2 officers got out. Casual. Like they were just stopping by. Blake finally started moving. Grabbed Kelsey. Started rushing toward his BMW. One of the officers held up a hand. Hold on there. They froze. Blake and Kelsey halfway to their car. Still in full wedding gear. Streamers trailing on the bumper. Just married sign clearly visible in the streetlight. The first officer approached. Older guy. Probably seen everything. Evening, folks. We got a call about a disturbance? I stepped out onto my porch. Calm. Reasonable. That's me, officer. These 2 showed up uninvited about 30 minutes ago. Been yelling. Refusing to leave. I've asked multiple times. The officer looked at Blake. At the tux. At Kelsey. At the wedding dress covered in dirt and tears and mascara. At the car with the decorations. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Sir, is this your property? He asked Blake. No, but... So you're on someone else's property? He sued me. At my wedding. The second officer, younger guy, cleared his throat. Sounded like he was covering something. The first officer nodded slowly. Okay. And suing someone gives you the right to trespass on their property? You don't understand. I understand you're standing in this man's driveway in a tuxedo at 9 p.m. on what I'm guessing is your wedding night. Help me understand why that seemed like a good decision. Kelsey started crying again. Full waterworks. Please, officer. This is all a misunderstanding. We just wanted to talk to him for 30 minutes? The officer cut her off. After he asked you to leave? It's complicated. Blake jumped in. The second officer walked over to their BMW, looked at the decorations, looked back at them. Didn't say anything, but his body cam caught everything. The crooked sign, the muddy dress, the whole scene. The first officer pulled out his notebook. Here's how this works. This is his property. You're not welcome. You were asked to leave. You didn't leave. That's criminal trespassing. I can either take statements and write this up, or you can get in your car right now and disappear. We'll leave, Kelsey said quickly. Blake wasn't done being stupid. He's harassing us. He had us served at our wedding. The officer closed his notebook. Was the service legal? Well, yeah, but then that's a civil matter. Has nothing to do with you being on his property right now against his wishes. You want to file a harassment complaint. Go to the station tomorrow. Tonight, you need to leave. The second officer leaned against their car. You drove here in wedding clothes to argue with him? I shrugged. He cheated with my girlfriend. Owed me money. Ghosted me. I sued him. Process server delivered papers at his reception. Both cops stopped. The first officer's eyebrows went up slightly. The second officer's professional mask slipped for half a second. The first officer closed his notebook. All right, show's over. Get in your car. Leave. Don't come back. If you come back, you'll be arrested. Clear? Blake started to say something. The officer held up his hand. Let me be crystal clear. If I have to come back here tonight, you're both spending your wedding night in holding cells. In those outfits. With me processing the paperwork, which I will take my sweet time doing. Because this story is already going in my report, and I want all the details. That did it. Blake grabbed Kelsey, practically threw her into the passenger seat, got in, started the car. The streamers dragging on the ground made this pathetic rattling sound as he backed out. The just married sign hanging crooked. Both officers watched them go. The second officer's body cam still recording the whole thing. The first officer turned to me. If they come back tonight, call again. Next time, it's an arrest. Understood. They left. My neighbor came over from across the street. Still recording. Please tell me you got all that. Every second. My other neighbor called from her porch. Alex, honey, that was better than cable TV. I went back inside, made tea, watched the videos my neighbor sent me. Blake and Kelsey fighting in my driveway. The cops dealing with them. The second officer taking photos of their car. Blake and Kelsey showed up to court on March 15th. Tried to claim the debt was forgiven, that it was a gift, that I was harassing them. Judge wasn't buying it. I had everything documented. Text messages where Blake explicitly called it a loan and promised repayment. Venmo transfer with the memo car loan. His $50 payment with first payment in the notes. Every ignored follow-up request. Judge ruled in my favor. Full amount plus interest. $3,472. Gave them 30 days to pay or face wage garnishment. They paid in 2 weeks. Kelsey's dad apparently wrote the check. Blake's pride couldn't handle having his wages garnished. Blake and Kelsey showed up to court on March 15th. Tried to claim the debt was forgiven, that it was a gift, that I was harassing them. Judge wasn't buying it. I had everything documented. Text messages where Blake explicitly called it a loan and promised repayment. Venmo transfer with the memo car loan. His $50 payment with first payment in the notes. Every ignored follow-up request. Judge ruled in my favor. Full amount plus interest. $3,472. Gave them 30 days to pay or face wage garnishment. They paid in 2 weeks. Kelsey's dad apparently wrote the check. Blake's pride couldn't handle having his wages garnished. 6 months went by after that. Complete radio silence. But the grapevine talks. Their marriage was a disaster from day one. Spent most of their honeymoon fighting about whose fault everything was. Meanwhile, I got promoted to director of regional operations, bought a bigger house in Cherry Creek, and started dating someone new. Megan, dental hygienist. Actually gets the difference between loyalty and convenience. Blake tried reaching out through Ryan 4 months after the wedding. Wanted to talk things out. I ignored it. Then he got laid off 3 weeks ago, and apparently Kelsey blamed their money problems on him. I was in the warehouse doing inventory when security called. Someone named Blake at the front desk. Refused to leave until I came out. I wanted to see this. Blake looked rough when I walked into the lobby. Thinner. Tired. That worn-down stress look that never stops. The receptionist watched from behind her desk. Security standing by the elevator. Blake saw me and his face crumpled. Alex, please, I just need 2 minutes. You got 2 minutes. Then security removes you. I'm leaving her. Already moved my stuff out. His voice cracked. Everything's falling apart, but I'm here because I destroyed the best friendship I ever had, and I can't live with it anymore. That's your problem. I know it is. But I need you to understand how sorry I am. 17 years of friendship, and I threw it away for nothing. You were my brother, man. And I destroyed that. I glanced at my watch. 90 seconds left. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking you to know that I understand what I lost. The marriage was garbage from the start, but losing you? That's the thing I can't get past. Should have thought about that before you betrayed me. Blake wiped his face. Started shaking. Is there any way we could ever... No. The word hit him like a punch. He stepped back. Please, I'll do anything. Just give me one chance. You had your chance. 17 years of chances. You threw them all away. I was stupid. I was selfish. But I'm telling you now, I would give anything to undo it. To choose you over everything else. But you didn't. When it counted, you picked yourself. Blake's hands were shaking. Please don't shut the door completely. You're the only real friend I ever had, and I destroyed it. and I can't accept that it's over forever. Accept it. You want to know what the worst part was? I kept my voice flat. It was that you made a choice. You looked at 17 years of brotherhood and decided it was worth less than sneaking around behind my back. That's who you are. Blake's face was wet. There's nothing I can do? No. He stood there, broken, begging with his eyes for something I wasn't going to give. I gave him nothing. Your 2 minutes are up. Get out. Please, Alex. Security. The guard stepped forward. Blake raised his hands. Okay, I'm going. He looked at me one more time. I'm sorry. For whatever it's worth nothing. Blake walked out, shoulders shaking. I watched him get in his car through the lobby windows. Felt nothing. Security came over. Everything okay, boss? Perfect. If he shows up again, call the cops. Trespassing. I went back to work. Had 3 shipments to coordinate. Blake wasn't important. Not anymore. That was 2 weeks ago. Yesterday, Kelsey texted from a new number. Long message about how Blake left her, how everything fell apart, how she realizes now what she lost. Wants another chance. I blocked the number. Deleted the text. They destroyed everything for each other. Turns out that's all they deserved. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.